Greetings, Mega Man fans, and welcome back to the Mega Man 42 LPA. In this episode, we'll be taking on the first stage of Dr. Wily's Sphinxamid. Wait. No, this is the fourth stage, not the first. Weird. Silly me. Sorry, this place happens to look exactly the same. At the very least, it uses the exact same tile set, so... who am I kidding? That was absolutely a commentary on the fact that this place looks the same. Well, that was short. Comment from the stage? That was ridiculously short and had basically nothing in it besides the SCG I grabbed at the end of the last video. Wait. Oh no. It is. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, it's rematch time. So without further ado, alright. First things first. I am murdering you. Thank you. So anyway, Madman is weak to the sleeping sand, which I suppose isn't too surprising. An insane person would probably be a bit less dangerous if they were asleep. So, that's probably why he's weak to the weapon that puts things to sleep. Sleeping sand itself is an okay weapon. As I mentioned previously, it puts enemies right to sleep. And it has a nice little... It doesn't have a lot of range, but it can work decently well if you're trying to deal with enemies that are close to you and below you. The main thing is that basically any enemy you catch with it is out of the way. And it may or may not be able to pierce shields. I don't know, I haven't tested this. It's something I need to do. It's not a terribly bad weapon though, and honestly, it's kind of neat how he went to all the effort to making all of the sleeping sprites that he made. Like, I can't complain about that. It's a neat weapon, really. Anyway, now that I've dealt with the brief detour to deal with the really irritating one, let's start going through these in counterclockwise order. Starting with Ombudsman. Ombudsman's weakness is the color glob, which, because of its nature, kind of absolutely destroys him. Why would Ombudsman be weak to color glob? Simple. That suit of his is expensive. Why would you... And you're just throwing globs of paint all over it. You're ruining it, man! Anyway, the color glob itself is... It is probably one of the weaker weapons in this game. But that is actually not saying a lot about... Well, I should rephrase. That doesn't mean color glob is weak. Far from it. It may not have the most range to it, given its arc, but that damage over time puddle can be incredibly useful in the right circumstances. And as well as its ability to, you know, stun enemies. It's actually a pretty good weapon in a pinch. There are other, better weapons in this game, but in a vacuum, Color Glob is actually surprisingly useful. And as you saw, there was that one little moment in Wily 2, I believe it was, where really there was no better weapon to use there. Okay, there we go. For a moment, the teleporter wasn't working. Anyway, and here we have Missile Man. His weakness is the Thunder Hammer, which I suppose makes sense. I doubt a missile would be, very fond of lightning. The Thunder Hammer is, offensively, it is one of the strongest weapons in the game. Its power output is pretty great, and that lightning burst has a ton of range. Like, I think the only real complaint I have about this weapon is that its use count can be a little... But its power output more than makes up for it. If you could be picking up a lot of weapon energy, Thunderhammer actually makes a very effective Buster replacement. And, you know, can't complain about that. Really, the Buster should be the weakest weapon in the game. Speaking of weak, ow, that was rude. Zombie Man's weakness is, His weakness is, beautiful. His weakness is the Paper Slash. Which I suppose makes sense if you think about it. He's a zombie, and he has all sorts of nicely exposed wires and limbs. Which, I don't know, Paper Slash is apparently a cutter-type weapon, so it cuts right through him. Anyway, Paper Slash... Basic spread shot, and... Oh, that has more ammo than I remember it having, okay. It's a basic spread shot, fair amount of range, fair amount of power. Paper Slash, like Thunderhammer, is single-handedly one of the most useful weapons in the game. Its only real weakness is ammo count. And you know, that's not that big a deal. It's not like you don't have other weapons to rely on. And Sandman's weakness is the Radiation Ray. Which, well, getting your brain scrambled just would be bad for anyone. Uh-oh. I'm gonna get shot. Okay, get up. Thank you. But yeah. Radiation Ray, I think that's probably the only weakness I don't understand right off. Then again, having your brain scrambled while you're asleep probably isn't a fun experience. Maybe you give him nightmares? I don't know, I'm just pulling ideas out of a hat at that point. Anyway, Radiation Ray is basically Sleeping Sand, except better. I actually think it has the exact same ammo count. But it turns enemies to your side instead of simply putting them to sleep. And it has the added effect of having a very large projectile and a ton of range. Radiation Ray is also one of the single best weapons in the game. It doesn't really kill enemies, so you won't be getting any drops from them. But it is still a fairly strong weapon. Oh. And Brain Man here is weak to the Insane Cannon. Which I cannot hit him with for the life of me. Because, you know, randomized spread shot. The Insane Cannon, well, as I said, it's a randomized spread shot. It has a lot of ammo, but really, like, as you saw, there were a few instances there where it didn't even fire straight forwards. If you're not trying to hit an enemy point blank with this thing, there is a very real chance that you are going to miss. Its Insane Cannon isn't completely useless, but it is certainly the weakest weapon this game has to offer. At the very least, it's the one I'm least impressed by. Okay. Only I've got 2 weapons left. Skyman. Skyman's weakness, unsurprisingly, is the homing laser. And he's actually a little harder here because it's a lot harder to see where you, need to dodge in order to, need to stand in order to dodge his, lightning. That being said, considering he's a flying robot, no wonder a homing weapon is the best one against him. Homing laser, its biggest weakness is that it doesn't have a lot of ammo. Otherwise, it's more than powerful enough to kill basically anything in 1 or 2 hits. And its homing system works well enough that unless the enemy is really fast, it'll catch them and kill them. can't really complain about homing laser any. And with that, we've only got one more boss. Hello, Artman. And goodbye, Artman. You die in literally 3 hits from your weakness. It's kinda sad. But yeah, his weakness is the launch missile, which I suppose makes sense. Paper, paintbrush, all of that stuff would probably be torn to itty-bitty bits by explosives. So, yeah. Launch missile doesn't have a lot of ammo, but it's powerful, pierces shields, and, item 2 function. That being said, if you're riding on it, its weapon energy will drain, as we've all already figured out by now. It works, though. It didn't work as well at first, but it got better. Anyway, with that, that's all of the Robot Masters, and likewise all of the weapons. So, what do I have to say about this game's weapon set as a whole? Really? Truthfully speaking, I can understand people hating all sorts of aspects of this game. But if you hate the weapon set of this game, then we're gonna have to agree to disagree. The weapon set of Mega Man 42 is absolutely the single best part of it. Even with things like Insane Cannon, I honestly feel like I have nothing but praise for this weapon set, just in general. Pretty much all the weapons have their own niche, with the exception of Sleeping Sand. It's borderline useless since Radiation Ray exists. And Insane Cannon, it's Insane Cannon. Insane Cannon and Sleeping Sand are the 2 weak points in this weapon set. Otherwise, it's actually a surprisingly stellar one. As far as weapons go, it's good. It's really good. For such a completely mediocre fan game, its weapon set is incredible. If there's any aspect of this game I would not change if it was being remade, it would be the weapon set. As far as I'm concerned, the weapon set is pretty much just fine as it is. I've got no complaints here. So, yeah. Congratulations, Mega Man 42. You have basically gotten a completely good review on something. At least from me. Anyway, no actual boss to the stage, so we get to move into the last stage of the game. Or at least, we will in the next video. We're not dealing with this now. Anyway, with that was the end of this episode. Again, really great weapon set. I have basically no complaints. I mean, come on. Anyone who's played an official game could tell me that most of them have a dud or 2 in their weapon set anyway, so if I'm gonna hate on this weapon set for having 1 or 2 dud weapons, I'm doing it wrong. I'm holding it to too high a standard then. Again, weapon set, actually really freaking good. So anyway, with that, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you for the next episode where we finish the game. So, until then, goodbye!